Now we can start for real, Michael. How are you doing
I am
today?
still doing well, Martin. Are you still good?
I'm still really, really, really good after this full start that we had. Sorry, everybody. I know you're waiting on the hour exactly, and we are a little bit late because we had some technical difficulties. But at the end of the day, were not a difficult technical difficulties. So anyway, now we live, Michael.
Okay, let's welcome everybody back to our AGTP Daily. Martin, we want to talk about the most important tech stories in the United States. Today is Thursday, the 16th of June, 2026. I feel like it's the second time I've said that today. Let's get right to it. Two kind of really big things, but related to each other at some level. Thinking Machines releases an open weight model.
Mhm.
You know, when we were going, well, I don't want to do the podcast before we get to the podcast, but we'll get to that too. But also TSMC's record quarter shows that the AI boom is still building. And I think both of these things are really important. Okay,
Yes,
let's
yes,
just
yes,
jump
yes.
right to, sorry, go ahead and say it again.
It's just like Jan comment really makes me laugh, and I think it start to get like a running joke in the chat. Like I see every day people make fun about this because we always forget the date, like absolutely every day.
Which AI agent will write the script to automatically update the date? I love Jan.
And it's true. Now it's fits. Thank you very much. Every day you correct it. It's amazing. Thank you very much. And so it start to become a joke, Michael. So
Oh, yeah, just so you know, that model has 17 trillion parameters. None of them
exactly,
are related to the date.
exactly.
We call that Martin LLM. It's
Which
Martin 3.0.
I
It's
think
too
is
dangerous to release.
I think the funny thing is that I think it's possible to actually write the agent to actually change it. So we could do
Oh, for sure.
that. So
For
I think we
sure.
could do it. But yes, sorry to have interrupted you, Michael. I think that was funny.
No, it is very funny. It's funnier than what I was saying. So Thinking Machines releases an open weight model. And I was going to say this during the introduction, but let's just say it here. You know, when you and I, and there's more stuff to go through here, but when you and I were talking this week, I think, what are we, Thursday?
Mhm.
You know, we were trying to speculate on who was going to release an open weight model first in the United States. We
Yes,
knew somebody was going to do it. And we kind of left Thinking Machines out. And part of the reason why is
sure.
because Mira Murati and her team, I won't say they're operating in stealth, but they're just operating quietly. But like
Yes.
they seem to have the right PR and comms team in place where like every time they think about opening their mouths, either someone tells them to be quiet or they're just the culture there is just like, let's just build stuff and not complain about whether it's too powerful or not.
Yes. Yes.
Does
Yes.
that
Yes.
make
Yes. Yes.
sense, Martin?
Completely. I mean, maybe we can do a little bit of history on
I will, I
think
will, I
on
will.
thinking machine. Okay, so maybe let's
Actually, let me go through
do
some
that.
stuff first, and
Yes.
then if
Okay.
I want to go through the stuff that's relevant to today, but if you have some stuff that's relevant for historically, we can go through that too. But let me just run through this really
Yes.
quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so Thinking Machines was not the company that we came up with when we said that that an open weight model was going to get released in the United States, but actually it did, and that was actually kind of cool. They released something called Inkling, which is a really interesting name. Like you know, in and of itself, it doesn't really matter, but I do love the fact that like the model, the thing that they have that actually does the adjustments, the messing around, the iterating on the model is something called Tinker.
Mhm.
And tinkering with something means like you're not really sure. You're like tightening a screw or loosening a screw a little. You're tinkering around with it. You're trying to get it just right.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
not even like scientific in a way.
Mhm.
I love the name. And inkling. Do you know what inkling means in English, Martin?
Tell me.
You could say something like, I have an inkling
Okay.
that something's going to happen, like a
Oh,
feeling or an
a
idea.
feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
There is nothing to do with the ink.
No, I know.
Okay. Because like
No.
with the picture that we put, right, and like it looks like there is ink on something,
But
but
again,
okay.
it's a pun. It's a pun as well. So an
Okay.
inkling
Okay.
is a slight, vague idea, a hint or a suspicion about something.
Okay.
And I love the naming convention here because we'll get to this too. But this is their first internally developed AI model, and it seems to me, Martin, like that this is the sort of because we wanted to know like what is Thinking Machines Lab's strategy.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
But are they going to come out with a model? Are they just going to provide services around other people's model? What are they doing?
Mhm. Mhm.
But I think this is like the real first example of what the strategy is for Thinking Machines Lab. And the way that Mira Murati actually wants to run this thing, and the idea here is that the company's not trying to build just like another chatbot.
Mhm.
Not at all, actually. What they want to do is they want to build a foundational model that organizations or institutions or enterprises can actually modify around their own knowledge
Yeah,
workflows and standards.
this is so cool. I mean,
And
this is so
and
cool.
that's super cool. And if you, and we'll get to this later as well, but if you put Tinker on top of it or around it,
Mhm.
then that is the thing that lets them modify or tinker with.
Mhm.
Let me because we defined inkling, but let me get a much better sort of official meaning of tinker. It means to make small experimental or casual adjustments to something in an attempt to fix or improve it. So like when I was in high school, guys would tinker with their car engines,
Okay, okay, okay,
you know,
okay.
to
I
make
see
them
it. I
slightly
see it.
more efficient. Like, let me just fix the exhaust here. Let me fix the air intake. Let me make it a little bit better so that there's more air, which means that the fire inside the engine is going to be a little bit higher, a little bit faster. So the car should accelerate more. You tinker with the engine a little bit just on the weekends. You know what I mean? Because during the week, you're driving the car to school. So the tinker thing is the thing that gives you the ability to tinker with inkling,
Mhm.
which I think is actually kind of cool. I love the way they have ink being there.
Yeah.
And just to say what inkling is as well, Inkling's an open weight, multimodal. It's an MOE model, right? Um, with 975 billion total parameters and only 41 billion active during any time of inference.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Okay. And as inputs, it accepts text, images, and audio, and it only produces text right now.
Okay, okay, okay.
And it supports a context window of up to 1 million tokens. And it was pre-trained on 45 trillion tokens, Martin, drawn from text, image, audio, and video data. And the weights are available under an Apache 2.0 license.
Mhm, mhm,
So
mhm,
this is
mhm.
just like a classic open weight thing. But here's the other thing, Martin, that's actually super interesting. Unlike every other model that's been released recently, they're not claiming that this is the best model out there. I mean, they're not
Yes,
claiming that it's the strongest model. Sorry, go ahead.
but I think that's not the goal. I think
No, it's
that's
not at all. That's the
I
point.
and this is where to me it's absolutely genius. I love this
Yeah,
idea,
yeah, I
right?
love it. I love it
I
too.
love
Sorry,
this
go
idea
ahead. Tell me why.
because this is not the goal. They don't want to make the best model. This is not what they want to do here. Here they just want to give us the foundation to then build the model that we need, to then customize it, to then add our own data through a very efficient fine tuning system. And that's why
Exactly.
thinking machine labs was built on day one, right? Like they wanted to create this efficient, this cheap, this fast way to fine tune models. So then we can actually do we can actually build a model that is exactly what we need and actually exactly actually for for the specific use case that we want to do and using our own data. So here they give us the foundation and then we can build on top of that our own version of what the AI should be. This is way better. I love this idea way more. Like I'm always complaining that the AI, I need to build a database and a knowledge graph and a second brain. And then every time we do a prompt, we need to put all of this information into the prompt, right? So the AI doesn't remember
Right.
anything. We
Anything.
need to always like put all the information into the prompt. And so that's why we need to build all of this database and knowledge base. And it's super complicated. It's really hard. It's almost impossible to update in real time and to keep alive. Like as soon as you start to think about it, it starts to be a big nightmare on how do we manage the data.
Yep.
I think what they are building here is exactly towards this problem, and because the solution that I always thought was possible was to actually put all of this data of the knowledge base of the second brain directly into the model, right? Like why I cannot just like put all of this into the model itself, and so then it just knows what I do and what I want, right?
Right.
Like I think one of the best example and probably the simplest one is the AI always write with dashes, right? That they
Yeah.
always m dash m dash,
Yeah.
and so
Why?
this is how you know basically that ChatGPT or Claude wrote
Wrote it.
something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I always put into every prompt that I do, every agent that I build, every
No M
process
dashes.
that I do, do not use m dashes. It's not big, but in every query I send to Claude, there is these 4 or 5 words that are there every time.
It's so funny, Mark,
How
because
stupid
I
is that?
wonder, like, and I've said
Mhm,
this to you before, the M dash is one hint, but the other thing
mhm,
is if you ask the LLM,
mhm,
particularly ChatGPT, right? If you ask it to like suggest some questions or some queries or
mhm,
make a statement about something, it'll always give what's called a stacked example.
mhm, mhm,
Do you
mhm.
know what a stack
Yes,
example
yes,
is?
yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
It'll give you like four things, and you're like,
Mhm.
no one
Yeah.
talks like this.
Yes.
And then the fifth thing would be, or something else.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In a way
Mhm,
that's like so it would be like, is it this thing, that
mhm,
thing, this thing, that thing, or something else? And you're like, nobody talks like that. Nobody
mhm,
thinks like that.
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
when I read things, right, you're looking at it from the prompt perspective,
Mhm,
and I'm
mhm.
looking at it from the output perspective. But at the end of the day, we're seeing the same thing, and
Yeah.
the hints here are so obvious.
Mhm,
But what you're saying here is that what Thinking Machines Lab has done with Inkling and its combination with Tinker is that they want to be able to control all of these things. The cost is one thing,
mhm, mhm.
but also the ability to customize that model
Yeah.
and add in the data that you want locally. And then if
Mhm,
something really big, that's why they did this in an MOE way, right? A mixture of experts way, because they want you to be able to do the thing that you want to do, not the thing that they think you want to do, if that makes sense.
so that's what I mean, it makes ton of sense, right? Like it's this idea of creating plugins, right? Like you do one model that's, for example, speak English, that's it, right? And then you have a
Yeah,
plugin
yeah.
for French, you have a plugin for German, you have a plugin for Thai, you have a plugin like for all the languages that you want, and then you just add them into your model. Like once again, we use Claude maybe 2, 3, 4 trillion dollars parameter, something like that. Claude can speak 100 something languages, but I just need English, right? So like if we remove
Right,
all the languages that I don't need, then how big is the model actually, right?
right.
And then if we do the same exercise with like all the area that we actually don't use neither, chemistry, plant, food, cooking, right?
Right,
Like
right. What's the point?
all of these things that are inside the models that I don't need at all, and that just increase the weight of the model, and which prevents probably to be actually able to install it locally on a machine, right? So if we remove all of these things, actually, what is the actual size inside the model that I need and that I use, right?
Right.
And so when we start to think this way, and when we start to say, okay, so actually let's take the problem in reverse, let's think about more like creating a foundational model that just has just the bare minimum that everyone needs, and then let's just build on top of that instead of thinking of removing stuff, then to me it looks like a much, much, much better process and a much better idea of like how AI should be built. And in a way, it makes much more sense because if you buy a computer, let's say, that can run, let's say, 100 billion parameters model, then you know that you can build your model up to 100 billion, right? And if you want
Exactly.
more, then you build then you buy a bigger computer, right? But like
Exactly.
then it makes sense, right? Then if you once again, if you only have 100 billion in capacity, then maybe you do two or three smaller model, one for coding, one for writing, one for something else, and now you can do much more. You have much more use cases. You can do much more stuff, and you don't need to install this massive $2 trillion, 2 trillion, sorry, 2 trillion
Parameter.
parameters that you
Yeah.
actually need only 100, right? So that's
Yeah.
why it seems to me way more efficient, way better.
So the other thing that's actually really interesting to me, Martin,
Mhm,
is not just sort of the technical aspects of it, although I do think it's fascinating, right?
mhm,
But
mhm,
I do think that Thinking Labs and Mira Murati, and maybe this is one of the reasons why she left as well,
mhm.
is that Inkling seems to me as much of like a business model statement in a way.
Yes, 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 yes.
We're gonna
Good
run.
point.
So again, I love these ideas where like there are two guys in a ring fighting, right? That's Sam Altman and Dario
Yeah, yeah,
Amodei.
Yeah.
And Mira Murati's like kind of in the audience, just like, with her laptop writing code.
Yes.
And while those two
Exactly.
guys are trying to punch each other in the face, she's like, keep punching. It's a great show up there. I'm gonna be down here
I'm
like doing
busy.
some work. Can you guys be quiet? I'm just trying to do some work over here. Because it's more because by saying I don't need to run, right, so fast so that I have the bleeding edge model, because the model itself at some level doesn't matter.
Yes.
She's already committed to the idea that we've been talking about for months, and that is the model itself is kind of a commodity. And as long as it does sort of the base stuff that people need,
Mhm,
the weights, because in Inkling's business model, the weights themselves, because they're open, can be downloaded.
mhm, mhm,
They can be independently hosted,
mhm,
right?
mhm.
And what it means as well from a cost perspective is that also means that every time you use them, you don't have to pay for them.
So you need the hardware, right? Like that's the limitation, right?
So this is the thing. Yeah, can I finish the thought
Yes,
first?
yes, yes.
You're
Go
100%
ahead.
right.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sorry. Because I just want to get the detail out there, but you're 100% right with the hardware. Thinking Machines is positioning Tinker, which is the part of the thing that does the fine tuning,
Mhm,
as the commercial center of their business.
mhm, mhm,
So
mhm.
not the model. That's what I mean when I say it's a business model choice. They're going like, the
Yeah,
model is good enough to do this stuff, but what you really want to do is you want to fine tune it. We've
exactly.
built the fine tuning infrastructure for you. That's what we're going to charge you for. So even though we don't have to pay repeatedly for the basic inference, you're going to have to pay for Tinker, but the cost associated with that's going to be lower. And as you mentioned earlier, Martin, customers can bring their own data and their own objectives for training as well,
Mhm, mhm,
while
mhm.
thinking machines can manage that sort of, I don't know, what do you call it, like the computational complexity. But you're right, because the practical part of this is that if you want to use an open weight model, the constraint is the hardware. So now go ahead.
But you know who's going to be super happy? Like for who this is for? Like who is going to install it tomorrow?
Yeah, AWS.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's for AWS. This is exactly the dream solution for AWS. Because
Yeah,
why,
because it's
if
not a
you put
Chinese model, so it's not going to get banned, but it
exactly.
is open weight. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so you're right to remind everybody about the problems of the Chinese models. So that's definitely one thing. But
Mm.
then we are not going to buy, a massive machine. Like I don't believe the on-prem of AI is going to be the biggest thing. I mean, it may be, but if it works on-prem, which means that we buy the equipment to actually run it locally, it will also work for much cheaper in the cloud. It's gonna be off-prem once
For
again
sure.
the exact same way that we host websites, and it's just so much easier to pay AWS to host our application rather than buying a big PC inside the company and having the team that maintains the server infrastructure for us, right?
Right.
That's what AWS does. So that's why I think all the innovation we're gonna see about on-prem, which means like the device that we can buy ourselves, will actually lead to innovation as well in the cloud, which is going to be the preferred way, I think, for most companies. And so a model like this can definitely be deployed on an infrastructure like AWS that is already there, that is
Yeah.
already safe. People already put their database with all their most important data on AWS, and that has never been a problem. So there
Nope.
is no data problem. There is no like where is my data going? Is it safe? No, there is none of this question with AWS, Google Cloud, or Microsoft Azure, right? Like they already trust them, and they already have the infrastructure to isolate you and to put your data somewhere that no one else has access to. Like it's working really, really well. So which means tomorrow they install Inkling on their Bedrock offering, and then I can start putting my data there, building my own models on AWS without having to buy all the server infrastructure, right? Like this is exactly the main pain point that everybody talked about right now, which is I don't want to send my data to OpenAI and drop it.
Right.
Now AWS can say, great, look, we can actually we can actually fine tune it directly into the model. And if they want to make money with Tinker, which is the fine tuning
Mechanism.
uh, mechanism, which means that even if you don't want to use Inkling, but you prefer to use DeepSeek or you prefer to use NVIDIA's model, or you prefer to use Grok, because that's the next one. If you want to use another one that's open weight as well, then you can also use Tinker to actually fine tune them, and then still use the benefit of bringing your own data to your own AI, basically.
Right. So
So
what is the equivalent product that OpenAI has, or that sorry, Anthropic has, that
yeah,
mirrors what Tinker does?
nothing. Yeah, they don't have anything like this.
Right. And again, just to give you a sense of, because you said the hardware is the constraint.
Mhm.
Just I did a little bit of research before we started recording. Running Inkling's full model requires at
Okay.
least 2 terabytes
Oh wow.
of
Of
aggregated GPU memory.
oh yeah, wow, yeah, that's huge.
Okay. Even the compressed version requires at least 600 gigabytes.
Okay.
Right. So the model's accessible, but operating independently remains realistic only for like the most
Yeah.
sophisticated. And again, who else does this benefit, Martin?
I mean,
It benefits Microsoft, right? Because they give you
yes, yes,
access
yes,
to
yes.
multiple models, and it actually
Good.
benefits um, SpaceX,
Yeah,
because you're going to need all that compute, and where else are you going to
exactly.
do that compute?
All the guys who can host it for you in the cloud are the big winner here. Are the big
Yeah,
winner. So
exactly.
we can imagine a business model where thinking machines clients are actually AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft, SpaceX, and all the guys who are going to host the model for them. Like, it would make much more sense. It would be so much easier for them. Like, you could do it yourself if you want, but I definitely see an FDE. I mean, not even an FDE. Like, they are going to work with AWS for AWS FDEs. Like, their FDE at AWS actually know how that works, and they help the enterprise actually deploy that on AWS servers. That's going to be a much better experience. And at the end of the day, if we do it like this, everybody wins. And I think this is going to be the biggest part for thinking machines lab business, like working with the hyperscalers directly and helping them help their clients. That makes much more
Yeah.
sense for me.
So can I give you an equivalent here that
Mhm.
most people are not going to understand, but I think it's actually like this.
Okay.
Have you heard of the America's Cup race?
No, never.
It's a sailing race, and I don't know how
Ah,
often they do it.
do we do that between two schools? Is it something like this, or is it in the
Two
UK?
what?
But two like
No, 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 no,
universities.
no. No, the America's Cup was like, it was a rich person's game where like they would be
Okay.
like every certain amount of time, I don't remember, but every let's just say 4 years or whatever it was,
Okay.
they had this thing called a 12-meter yacht.
Okay.
And you can only build it in a very similar way to F1. It had very specific sort of mathematical specifications that you could
Mhm.
build. And everybody's yacht kind of looked very similar. And one year somebody changed the thing underneath the hull. I
Okay.
forget what it's called, but the thing that kind of guides it, it made the boat go much faster. And then one American racer, this guy named Dennis Conner, said, they never said we couldn't use a catamaran. It fits into mathematically into all of this sort of specifications. And one day
Okay.
he showed up to the race. It was
Okay.
just like a completely different boat. And the race wasn't even close. So why am I saying this? It's because you have Dario,
Mhm.
we're using the leadership to sort of anthropomorphize these companies. So they're not people, they're companies. But you have OpenAI and Anthropic, building 5.6. Then there's, Fable 5, and they're
Yeah.
just trying to get more parameters and more on all this kind of stuff. And Mirani's over here going, we're just going to build this sort of tinkering infrastructure because that's the thing that she's just showed up with a different boat.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. That's true. And that just
And while those guys are
participating.
trying to punch each other in the face and get like these little nuanced differences, she's like, you guys have built the wrong thing.
Mhm, mhm.
Sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
I think I think I think it's possible. I think it's very possible that they built the wrong thing. I mean, it was not
We've
the
been
wrong
talking about
thing
it.
2 days ago. Sorry,
No.
2 days ago. 2 years ago, it was not the wrong thing. Like what OpenAI and Anthropic were doing 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it was not the wrong thing. But what makes me worried about Anthropic and OpenAI, and even more for Anthropic, is that it doesn't look like they see that the market is changing,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that the
that's my
needs
point
of the
though. It was
clients
the
are
same thing with the
changing.
yachting guys. They were just
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
they didn't know what to
Like
do.
like exactly, like that's why, like when I see, Anthropic still like making these funny things about Fable that's included into the subscription and not, and they want to remove the
Right,
subscription
right,
API.
right,
Like
right.
I'm like, first of all, this is bad, but second of all, do you realize what people actually want, right? And
Right,
what is the state of the market as of now? It's not the same as 6 months ago at all. It's completely different. And
right.
this is another example of somebody building AI V2 in a different way than what OpenAI and Anthropic are doing. Right now, we got Apple, we got Thinking Machine Labs, we got AMD, we got NVIDIA, we got all of these guys who build something else, right? Like they don't do the same thing as OpenAI and Anthropic. They don't build models to go compete on the enterprise and sell tokens and all of that. They have a different view on how we should use AI, right? And Anthropic and OpenAI are not participating in any of this, which really made me super worried because if the boat that they bring to the race is actually better and actually this idea works, then they are going to be completely left out, right? Like completely,
Yeah,
but like it could be overnight, right? Like the Apple AI on device idea is really, really dangerous for them
very.
because Apple is huge, has massive distribution. Thinking Machines is much smaller and doesn't have the type of this distribution. But if tomorrow they partner, like I mean, I think next week, Michael, we see an announcement. Thinking Machines like partner with AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure.
Oh, for sure.
This is the next step. If they do this type of thing, they get the distribution from them, they get the compute from them, they install their models there, and now we're talking. And now they basically like all the like they were super late to the parties. Bedrock had all the Chinese model installed already, but they could come up first in the coming month if this works. If this is something that really works and the enterprise adopt it and people are happy with it, like they could be a leader really really quickly through the hyperscalers.
So there's no reason in my mind why AWS would not want to have the thinking
Yes.
machines model there. They already have DeepSeek, they already have Mistral, they already have Quen, they already have Minimax, they already have Kimi,
Yeah.
they already have GLM. Like, there's no reason why they wouldn't want to have it here. And the risks they're running by having all the models that I mentioned there are all China-based models.
Mhm.
And there's no reason why AWS and frankly even Microsoft, which is also multi-model, and multimodal as well, would not want to have this there as an option.
Mhm.
Because the same way that Microsoft is making money via Azure, in the same way that Bedrock is making money by having you put all your data there, they don't really care what model you use. They
Yes,
would
yes, yes, yes,
prefer you use
exactly.
Microsoft model because they make some money off the tokens. But you and I have been saying this for a long time now, and I've been seeing this actually all over X as well in the past couple of days. The token part of this business is over.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
If it's
mhm.
not over yet, it's on its way. Like the invitations to the party where it ends are over. You know what I mean? Like those invitations are getting sent out right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. And so, no, no, this is a super good idea. But I think the only risk for this idea is that it doesn't work. Like we have no idea. We didn't try, right? Like there is no big contract yet. There is no big client yet. We said, hey, we are using Tinker. I mean, it's super new, right? Like I think
Yeah.
like Thinking Machines they raised $2 billion like 3 months ago, something like that, or they raised 1 billion. Like it's small, right? Like it's we are not talking about $100 billion and like massive announcement all over the press. No, 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 no. It's much smaller. It's much more quiet, and as you said, like there are the guys working in the background and just getting stuff done.
Right.
So the only risk I think is that it doesn't work or it doesn't work yet, right? Like maybe it's V1, maybe it's an MVP, maybe it's not like fully ready yet. We have no idea, so time will tell, right? Like in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
But you just need one big client. Like if
But
tomorrow,
but
yeah.
I'm going to agree with Jan actually here, if you
Mhm,
don't
mhm,
mind.
mhm, mhm.
You know, Minecraft may not be the best game in the world, but people love modding it, right?
Yes, yeah, and GTA as well. GTA is like
Same
one of the one of the most famous game in the world with a bigger fan base because you want to customize it, you want to use cheat codes, and you want to crazy thing into the game, right? And this is definitely something that people love. But here there's another layer that's actually, I think, more important than just playing game, which is companies do not want to share their data with
Yeah, yeah,
Anthropic and
sure,
OpenAI.
for sure.
So
I'm
there
just
is
saying that
like a
people are used to this idea of
yes, 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 yes,
doing
yes,
that kind of, and I'll put it in quotes, tinkering, right? Because
yes.
they've been doing it forever in the game space.
Mhm, mhm,
And while you're right that the data and stuff like that is unrelated here,
mhm.
the concept is the same.
Exactly, and then also all the open source idea, right? Like, why do we love
Yeah, yeah.
open source? Because we can take a software and then change it, and then remove what we don't want, and add what we want to it,
We
right?
do
And so
want, yeah.
this type of customization just work. We know it works, right? There's tons of example that just prove that it works, and plus on top of that, there is this data problem that this is fixing, right? Like
So,
so.
so can I ask you this though, Martin? OpenAI and Anthropic have been having conversations with big corporates
Mhm,
about what they want from an artificial intelligence provider.
mhm, mhm.
But I feel like Thinking Machines Labs, like, and I'll tell you a story, Martin. Like when I used to go on business trips when I was at Goldman Sachs, when we were trying to sell the portfolio trading business, right, to like big institutional investors, there was kind of a season for doing this.
Oh yeah.
So when we got on the plane, the guys from Lehman got on a plane, the guys from Morgan Stanley got on a plane, and we would literally like go to an office in Detroit where some massive fund manager was. And while we were sitting in the waiting room to talk to the fund
There's
management
like
team,
four bankers.
four guys from another company would like come downstairs and they'd be like, they'd flip us the bird, being like, we've already sold this to the, do you know what I mean? So they were having conversations too. But I have to believe that Mir Murati and her team were out there talking to people going, what's your preference? Do you need the model to be perfect, the best model ever? Or do you want to be able to customize it and keep the data internally and stuff like that? Because that's what we're thinking about building. And I have to believe that at some level, the teams at OpenAI and the teams at Anthropic were not listening. Because remember, they've built this entire FDE business around
Yes,
this,
yes,
right?
yes, yes. That's why this is
and
perfect
and
for
two
for
companies,
VFD.
Anthropic Ode, yeah,
Mhm,
and OpenAI's, oh, come on, what's it called? Deployment Co,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
right? But we haven't heard yet from Thinking Machines Labs like what their FDE strategy is. And in a way, they don't need the same one because what they're doing is they're gifting Tinker. They're not gifting it, but they're giving Tinker to people and going, here's a model that's really, really good. It's not going to outperform on the benchmarks, this stuff, but because you can customize it and tweak it with this tool, it's probably going to be better for you because you can make it what you want. And then they leave the office, and the guys from OpenAI are sitting downstairs in their suits going, what are we doing here?
Exactly, the value proposition is just so much stronger, right? Like,
And so much different. It's like
and so much
ridiculous. Like they
different.
built the wrong thing.
Exactly. No, for sure. For sure, for sure, for sure. But so then in terms of commercial strategy, I would bet on they don't do FDs themselves. Because imagine that they do that, which means that either themselves, thinking machines, or their clients need to have a compute to be able to run the model. So
Yeah, yeah.
all of a sudden you told to like a much, much, much smaller group of companies, thinking machines is not doing cloud neither, right? So that's why I think to me, like if I were the head of sales at Finjin Machines, I would do partnership with the cloud provider, and I would teach their FDs, right? Like so
For sure, for sure.
we talk about Amazon and like launching a $1 billion FD program, Microsoft launching
Yep.
2.5, if I remember correctly,
Yep. And
2.5
deployment costs like $4.5 billion.
development crew. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's why like all of these things is like massive. If I were thinking machines, I would be like, you know what, we are the smallest, we cannot compete on brand, we cannot compete on compute, then let's just partner with all of those guys. Let's just make sure that our offering help them sell compute. And that's it, right? That
Exactly.
we just want AWS at the end of the day be super happy because they are selling more server time, and that's it, right? And how we're gonna sell more server time, because we are going to go to AWS existing clients who are not
Exactly.
using OpenAI and Anthropic because they don't want to send their data to them. We are going to help them implement AI in a very efficient way while keeping their data inside the AWS ecosystem that they already trust. To me, that is a home run. Like if tomorrow she managed to do this type of partnership, she will have access to like all the largest companies in the world, like almost overnight. And all of those guys, they don't use AI agent. I think matter of fact, also something to remind people. I think like we talked a lot about how AI is amazing and how cool it is and how AI agents are super helpful. But that's true only for a very tiny part of companies, like the
Yeah.
ones that are too small to have too much data problem. As soon as it comes to insurance or banking or healthcare, those guys they do absolutely nothing as of now instead of AI agents, right?
Like,
Like
it's
they
too
are,
dangerous.
it's too dangerous for them. And just because they don't know how to manage the data layer, right? And
Exactly.
this is the largest companies in the world. And I think this is something to keep in mind because you'd never see the CEO of an insurance company on a podcast saying, "Yeah, no, we don't use AI," right? Like
No, no,
is
no.
not, this is not going to happen. So we talk more about, the startup or the SMEs or the medium-sized companies who do crazy thing about AI. They get all the light and they make most of the noise. But at the end of the day, it's very tiny. So this is going to help the big insurance companies get into AI and deploy
Well, yeah, because
agentic AI
then
at
they can
scale.
retain their data
Exactly.
internally
Yep.
and do the heavy compute if they need to
Yeah.
do it on the server side and in the cloud.
Exactly.
Now, what was the other thing that we've been speaking about over the past couple of weeks? Well, because and and again, okay, price update. I wish I had that like little I wish I had that little sound that they do on the news. Sorry, there was a a very famous sort of breaking news sound that they had on the radio in New York, and I wish I could
Okay.
replicate it, but I can't here. Yesterday, SpaceX traded at 132 something.
132, right? Oh
Yeah,
wow.
it was 135.73 now, but it's traded a low today of 134.02. But my point is that like what Mir Murati and Thinking Machine Labs has done to the possibility for an IPO for both OpenAI and Anthropic is just squashed it in my mind. Because we talked about this, right? We said if any open weight model gets launched, and we got it wrong, or at least I got it wrong, because I thought it was going to be Grok that was going to do it, but I almost guarantee you that Grok will do this as well.
I mean, I feel Michael, to me, if this is working, this is going to force everybody to go open source.
Of
Because
course,
what
open
because
weight, yeah.
yeah, sorry, open weights. Because what do clients like, I mean, if tomorrow clients are like, yeah, we like this idea, we want to use this idea of fine-tuning the open source models, if this
Yep.
is what the market wants, then people will need to adapt, right? Like, and actually, like even at my scale, right? Like at our massive company scale, right? I w- I want to try this. And this is the idea that excites me the most. Out of everything that we've seen into the AI world, this is the one that excites me the most because once again, managing the data is such a pain. And managing like all of
Yeah,
this
yeah,
prompt and all of this database and second brain and you call them the way you want, but it's managing your own company data at the end of the day. And it is really complicated and it burns too much to token on doing the same thing always over and over and over, right? Like
exactly.
putting in every prompt, do not use M dashes. You can't tell me that's efficient, right? Like,
But you pay for that every time you write it down and you
and
send
plus you
that to them.
pay
You
for
pay for
that.
it.
You pay for these 5 words and plus all the other instruction that I use absolutely all the time into every
Yep.
prompt. And I send, I don't know, I have maybe like 15 agents that runs like 24/7, right? Like, so if you start to do the math, maybe, I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20% of my overall token consumption is just stuff that I repeat into every prompt because
Exactly.
I can't
Exactly.
put them into the model. So that's why, like, that's why I said, like, out of everything that we discussed, this is the thing that excites me the most. I'm like, okay, good, if I can do this thing, then I don't need to worry too much about the data. I can really have an AI that knows me, that understands me because it has all the data inside. And then my prompt can be so much more efficient because we don't need to repeat the same thing all the time, right? And
But
so
but do you think that, remember, I was one of the points that I was trying to make earlier was that like I think all of these companies have sent their representatives, whether they're sales representatives or development reps or whatever, or just like senior level execs there to say like, how are you going to use this? How can we make it better for you? And do you get the sense that like the guys from OpenAI and Anthropic weren't listening to the answers?
yeah, no, that's I
Do
think
you know what I
also.
mean?
So I think OpenAI pretty much listen in a way. I think they listen ish, right? Like
Yeah, ish.
they listen. No, I think they hear, but they don't listen, right? Like they hear what people say, but they don't listen and they want to do their own thing. But I think Anthropy doesn't at all. Like,
No, I don't think
have
they're
you
listening at
seen
all.
any sign from Anthropic in the last 6 months that they are changing their way of doing business to adapt to the market. At least OpenAI is launching new product. They want to do hardware. They want to do a few things. But 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 Anthropic, it looks like they do absolutely nothing at all, right?
Yeah.
And yes, I think what Jan put into the comment is really funny. He's really funny. I was like, okay, like it's so funny that we get distracted that we can't.
I was distracted by it.
Okay, no, it's
Sorry
good.
about that.
So yeah, so we do need a script for the date, one for the SpaceX
We should have like a little
ticker.
ticker space at the top here, Martin. That just
Yes.
gives like the update on the SpaceX IPO price.
And then once it like breaks a support, or like breaks something important, then being like we have a little news center that say, hey guys, SpaceX is at 135 now, 132, 130, and so on.
But it's predicated on the fact that the date is right.
Yeah, so that's why we also need the date right, yep. Which I always forget. Absolutely every year.
But I do think this distinction that you were making before, right, about like who's listening to what the people actually want. You know what I mean? Because the other thing is, look, I do think that there's going to be a big problem from a revenue standpoint for both an OpenAI and for Anthropic when it comes to people paying for the tokens on the models. We've talked about this for a while. But what it means is they're going to have to come up with another sort of business model for this. And I feel like Thinking Machines Labs has come up with a way, right, to say that the commercial product that we're offering out to you is Tinker. It's the ability to fine tune the model and to customize it just so you can use it the way you want to and not the model itself.
Yes, and
that's the big benefit, as you were saying, about the open weight stuff, as opposed to a fixed model that you can't change at all to customize for yourself, but also the data control that you have too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, and I think like at the end of the day, they really want to sell Tinker, and they just need a use case, right? Like they need a model that's there that they can use, that they can start with, because maybe their model is the most efficient as of now to use with Tinker, but without linking the two products together, which means without saying you need to use Inclined to be able to use Tinker and vice versa. Like they say you can use Tinker with any open weight model, right?
Any open weight model, yep.
And so this allows the clients, this allows the companies, that allows the insurance company, for example, to say, I like you Incline, that's good, but I prefer DeepSeek, right? And so then you can say, no problem at all. We can also do it with DeepSeek. And at the end of the day, we wanted to make money on Tinker anyway, not on the model, right? So we don't care which model you use, but at least we have something where we can show you, right? And so I think that's the intent here, right? Like we don't really want to do anything big with the model. We just want to have something so we can start somewhere. Maybe it will actually work really well and work much better with their own model. Maybe it will be a use case as well that will inspire everybody else, right? Like maybe tomorrow Drudge is going to say, this is such a great idea, we want to be part of it. We are releasing a 500 billion foundational model that is just what you need as well, right? And then we're gonna work with thinking machines to make it easy to fine tune, to add your own data. Like we could imagine something like this, right? It could inspire other people to participate and then probably to do deals as well with thinking machines, so they distribute Tinker and they get part of the money as well. Like we could imagine plenty of new business models if the idea worked, right? And this is what is really, really exciting here.
Right. So I can imagine a situation where Cursor and Grok are now working together really, really diligently to come up with their own sort of Tinker model, their own, fine tuning model. And at some point, they're just going to spring this whole thing on the market as well. And then Anthropic and OpenAI are going to be left out in the cold because they're not focusing on this at all. And I can't believe that building this fine tuning thing, because here's the idea. That fine tuning thing that they built has to be better than everybody else's fine tuning, because the model themselves was not built to be the best model. In a way, I almost feel like they built the model so that they could test Tinker against something that was good enough, right? And that they could control as well. So they could do it in a controlled environment and make Tinker as good as they possibly wanted to make it, and then say it was available for everybody else. And their whole business model is now not dependent upon them competing at the highest level, right? So Google was taking a lot of flack this week, right? Because they were waiting to release, what was it, 3.6, their newest version of Gemini. and they kept delaying it. And maybe Google kind of feels the same way that that Thinking Machines Lab does. Is like we don't need to have the best model. We just need to have it be able to be customized for people. Although they have not come out and said that because that's not an open weight model either, right?
They do have like a family of models on the Google
That are
side
open weight. Yeah,
who
yeah,
are open weight, and they have the compute as well, right? Like it makes ton of sense tomorrow for Google to release an open weight model and to start working with engine machine labs or to build their own Tinker-like solution, right? Like it makes ton of sense. They have the compute, they have the model, they have the client, they have a distribution. I mean, you just need to sell what people want to buy. I think at the end of the day, this is what is going to drive all of these things, right? Like if
I agree.
companies want to keep their data private, they don't want to share with cloud AI provider, everybody will need to adapt to it, right? And so right now they can't, I mean, actually, it's not that they can do it. Like, look, the conversation we had last night, that's what they do. They build their own AI, right? Like they said,
Yeah,
hey, look, we build our own AI because we want specific use cases, and we just do our own stuff, basically, right? And
yeah,
when I say they build our own AI, I mean they build their own models, right? The conversation we had this afternoon with the founder of Muse AI as well, right? Like she
yeah.
didn't build her own model, but she built her own
Orchestration.
orchestration to decide which model is actually best for which task, and she already
Yep.
implements plenty of different models. This is in the same frame of ideas, right? Like how can we actually optimize and keep our data private and create very specific use cases, right? And so it feels to me that the world is focused on that at the moment. Like people are doing this and they are not thinking about token cost and API pricing. Instead, they take five subscription to Claude. If they need like $25,000 of API cost, they just take five subscription to Claude and just pay $1,000, and then they work on building their own AI, like building routing orchestrator to actually use the best model for the job at the cheapest price. That's what people do right now. So yeah,
Yeah,
this
and Martin,
is
to be fair, remember I talked to that guy today from Red Date Technologies
yes,
as well,
yeah.
who's building the on-chain identity stuff, but also using LLMs to do it. He said a bunch of interesting things. The first of which was no one does any coding in his company anymore. Nobody,
Mhm.
nobody. He said 100% of the coding is done by the model. Um, but the second thing he said was because I asked him about this. I'm like, what do you think about the open weight models versus the the foundation lab models? And he was like, we use them as much as we possibly can.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
because remember, in Asia, they don't have to worry about the restrictions that the US government is putting on using models
Yes.
from China. That guy's based in Hong Kong, which is essentially China. And to be fair, if you're in Singapore, if you're in Thailand, or if you're anywhere else in Asia, including Japan, no one can tell you to stop using these open weight models.
I feel in Asia they are way more open. It's way more normal to use the open way
Yeah,
model here. Everybody does it, right? Like it's
everybody.
like
So it's
it,
already part of the
yeah,
functioning. So when
exactly.
Thinking Labs comes out with
Mhm.
this stuff, people be like, I'll try that too.
Exactly.
And then I'll
Yeah,
use Tinker to do the fine tuning.
exactly. And so that's why I think like up until now, maybe they weren't a really efficient mass market, I would say, right? Like in big quotes, because we're not talking about B2C mass market type
Yeah,
of
yeah, sure,
product,
sure,
but
sure.
like
But
mass
mass
market,
corporate or mass enterprise market, yeah.
yes, like for this market of people who are implementing AI, like a solution for the most of us, basically, that does fine tuning. I can't think of any. I can't think of like one that is well known that everybody's using. I think it's all like thing that people do by themselves. Also, I was checking that OpenAI, like at first when ChatGPT Michael came out on November 2022, that was one of the things that I spent a lot of time to try to understand, like how did fine tune works, because
Mm.
I don't know, from day one I just liked this idea, and then I gave up because it was way too expensive and way too complicated. And so yeah, we just gonna use the normal chat GPT basically. And look, OpenAI is winding down the fine-tuning platform. The platform is no longer accessible to new users. So which means it's not like they are not going to the party. It's like they were there and they left. They left the party. And so that's why, like, that's why I say I don't think there were like any solution for actually people to actually try that at scale, like every company to actually be able to try this
Mm,
until now. And this is doing, I think, to accelerate the adoption of this type of solution. And because now we can try. I'm really curious to see like what is the price. Unfortunately, we can't host it ourselves. We don't wait. We don't have to wait for AWS or somebody like this to create an offering for me, right? Like basically, like, I'm the client. I want to use it. If tomorrow AWS launch a $100 per month plan to be able to use it, that's the best solution for me, right? Like there would
yeah.
be nothing better. So that's why like we now have to wait for this. Hopefully they do it soon. But yeah, I think this is part of the answer about how do we use AI in
Do,
5 years.
do you also think that it opens up the market to people that maybe could not have afforded to use the foundation models and now can use the open weight model because just the cost of them is going to be so much less expensive, but they can get, 90% of the
No.
efficiency from it?
I don't think so. I don't think so because if you couldn't afford the frontier model like OpenAI and Anthropic, you didn't see the problem with data and all of these things. Like you are probably too small to have this type of problems.
To
I think this,
understand why
yeah,
this matters. Yeah.
and to
Yeah, fair
understand
enough.
really why it matters. I think you start thinking about this. I see really two main things, and maybe there's more, but there's at least two. A company like ours who think about being efficient, right? And so when I see like all the extra work that I need to do on the data layer, I'm like, they must have a better solution
Right, right,
because
right.
it's too technical, it's too complicated. But you see that like after a couple of months, right? Like after a couple of months, you're like, okay, wait a minute, let's pause here and let's just think about what we are doing.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
like, okay, they must be a better solution. So that I think is the first behavior, the first type of thing that start making you think about this. And the second one is all the companies who don't want to share their data. Like they've been waiting on the sideline for years now, right? And it's been 6 months since open close, since all of this that they try to find a way, but they can't do anything. They try to implement DeepSeek, they try to do this and that. Then Bedrock is launching, and that's good. That's part of the solution. But this is going to accelerate implementation for these companies. So
Yeah.
and so that's why I think it's not going to help the one that are too small, but it's going to help a lot the one who are very serious about AI.
Got it. Okay. Do you want to move on to TSMC
Yes, let's move on to TSMC. Sorry, and if anyone has any question regarding all of this,
or any
as you see,
comments or anything? Yeah,
or
let
any
us know.
comments, like any like what's your take, what's your point of view? As you see, we love this idea. What do you think? Do you love this idea as well? Feel free to let us know. So yes, TSMC, Michael. And maybe we
Okay.
also need a script to change the topic. Because sometimes I forget that as well. So while we are talking about writing script, we also need one
To
that
change the
update the
lower
topic.
third.
Exactly.
It's hard work, man, just to keep on top of all this stuff.
Exactly.
So TSMC reported their earnings. They delivered a record second quarter, and it showed that AI infrastructure spending is still translating into unusually strong semiconductor demand. Again, just to give you some stats, revenue reached 40 billion US dollars. That's up 33% year over year. Net income rose 77% to $22 billion, way ahead of market expectations. Gross margins. Martin, what's a good gross margin for your business if you have it? Apple,
Mm.
just so you know, Apple's gross margins are in the 40s.
Okay, so that's huge, right? That's more than most companies.
Oh my God. I mean, like
Mhm.
supermarkets run on a gross margin of like 2%.
Yes.
And I'm
Amazon
not saying that
same.
Apple's competing with
Yeah.
supermarkets, but I'm just saying that like most margins are thin. Gross margin for TSMC was 67.7%.
Oh wow.
So it's just
That's a different
like
neighborhood.
it's just like yeah, they're living in a different universe. And you know, there's this idea of like revenue quality. Like how
Mhm,
good is the revenue that they're earning?
mhm, mhm.
Um 3 nanometer chips contributed 30%, while the newly introduced 2 nanometer processes already accounted for 3%. In other words, the new stuff that they're building is already starting to accrue towards their revenue and towards their gross margins. And TSMC, Mark, we talked about this before we started recording. They expect the 2 nanometer sort of ramp up to accelerate during the third quarter. Now, here's more important stuff. The company also raised its expected revenue growth to slightly above 40% because it was 33% year over year. And their third quarter revenue is projected at $44 billion, implying another sort of huge sequential quarter over quarter increase. And their management on their call said that their AI demand is extremely robust and said visibility, we always talk about this, right? The predictability and the visibility of their revenue and their orders is strong, they said, through the end of the decade. I know we're in 2026, but the end of the decade is not next week.
No.
So they're saying they have visibility on orders until 2030 or 2029. Sorry.
That's probably what drives the price up, right? That there's too much demand, and they just say, okay, how much you pay? 100, you 150, you 180, 250
What's your
there,
next bid? Yeah,
300,
exactly. Where's your next bid?
800 in the batch, like maybe
Exactly,
there's like
exactly in the back.
maybe there's like some stuff like this going on, right? Like
Yeah.
that's why like everything is just getting so big. So let's maybe do you know like what is the main market of TSMC? Like what type of companies are their clients? What do this company do? What's like the end use case? Are they like doing to data centers? Are they going into phone? Are they going into computer? Are they doing everything? Like do we have sort of a breakdown of who is buying their product?
So NVIDIA is NVIDIA is TSMC's largest client.
Okay.
Apple is their second largest client. NVIDIA now accounts for roughly 22% of TSMC's revenue. Remember, they're a fab. They don't design chips. They manufacture them, and manufacturing is really hard. Apple is about 18% of their revenue. Broadcom, MediaTek, Qualcomm, AMD, Intel, all of these companies and the hyperscalers, Amazon, AWS. And let's just do something else. Who are TMC's biggest competitors?
Yes.
So Samsung, Intel, UMC, so United Microelectronics, Global Foundries, SMIC, which is a company that I've heard of, but like they're a pure play foundry. Okay, meaning they make chips
That's
that
it.
other
They don't.
companies design. They don't design their own products. They just manufacture chips.
Okay, they manufacture, right? Like let's not use the word just, but so which means like they can work with everybody. They can, like, if somebody really represent the demand of AI, it's this business, because even if there is competition on the chip side, even if there is like multiple solution and different point of view, and people will build different things, at the end of the day we need to build them, right? Like, and so if you
We need
go to the
so
source.
and Martin, from a pure play semiconductor foundry, what do you think their market share is?
I don't know, tell me.
73%.
Okay, 70%. Okay. Okay, it's really
So
impressive. Okay.
it's more of a question of like who's not their client. Okay. But here's what else is actually kind of interesting too. They are saying they're going to increase their capex as well.
Okay.
So they increased their capex for 2026 to $60 to $64 billion. And it also announced another $100 billion of investment in the United States, bringing its total U.S. investment to about $265 billion. They're going to include 4 fabs, so places where these chips get made, on the 2 nanometer and more advanced production in Arizona alone. Okay. And the idea here is that they're just capturing so much value from this AI boom.
It's insane.
Yeah, that is insane.
But something else that's interesting is that it looks like, that it makes me think about this story that you told us about the Japanese car manufacturer. Like, they were so efficient, so cheap, that they were starting like to really mess up with the car market in the US. And so they told them, like, guys, you can keep selling, but you get to build factories in the US. You get to build them there, and it makes me think about it, right? Like why TSMC doesn't build their fab wherever they want. It looks like they are actually having like a big part of their business locally, investing money locally as well, building things locally. So everybody's happy, right? Like they are not trying to create more problems here.
No, but do you know what TSMC stands for?
Taiwan Semiconductor.
Right,
So
Taiwan
that's why.
Semiconductor.
So
So why
that's
would
why.
they build fabs in the United States? Because they don't want to, because the US doesn't want to have, and actually TSMC doesn't want to have any sort of geopolitical risk
Exactly. Yes.
on multiple levels.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
For
We don't
sure.
have
I
to
mean,
get into the details here, but
yes.
like they don't want to have to worry about what China does with Taiwan. They don't want to worry about what US does with China. They're just building the fabs in the United States and probably getting some sort of tax benefits from doing it as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so yeah, for sure. But it's also like a strategic asset for everybody now,
For
for
sure.
Apple, for Nvidia. So that's why like, the fact that they actually play the smart game, I would say, right, and just try to stay out of geopolitics as much as they can, and they just build, this fab where their clients are, including the USA. So then it just like ease the relationship. I think this is like that's why I wanted to mention that because I think that's exactly the goal here.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you.
Mhm,
And again, one of the main reasons why I wanted to point this story out is because it just says, their visibility is so far out into the future.
mhm.
And this is not a story about like, is there a boom or a bust coming in the AI cycle? But this idea that like all of this competition on the hyperscaler space, on the model building space, whether it's thinking machines labs, all these people are at some level, and the data center and SpaceX and Grok and all this stuff, they're all ordering more and more and more chips. And again, because TSMC is not tied specifically to just one chip design company, right? Because that's what NVIDIA is. They're not a manufacturing company per se. They're a design company, just like Apple designs their chips. And think about it. The NVIDIA stuff is not an ARM-based chip, yeah?
Mhm, mhm.
So they can build anything
Yes.
because the Apple stuff is ARM-based. They don't care.
Yeah.
But I mean, just imagine, Martin, if they're going to spend, if their CapEx is $60 billion,
Mhm.
just imagine how expensive it must be for like what Apple has to pay them just to manufacture their chips.
Yeah, it must be insane. It must be
Because
insane.
they can make money and still invest $60 billion a year.
Yeah.
And their margins are 60, what do we say, 67%?
Yes, 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 yes.
That's an insane business model. What are you looking for?
Now I was looking at the charts first of all of the stock, like the stock price of TSMC.
Mm.
It's a straight lineup, like really, that it's absolutely insane. Since yeah, like since 2025, like last year, really, it just went up and up and up and up in a straight line. Just like year to date, plus 55% year to date. 1 year plus 118%.
Yeah, look at a 5-year chart. It's
5 years,
ridiculous.
319%.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So today with all of these announcements, just 1.23. I mean, this is definitely going up. This is like straight line up. And plus, like I much prefer this business because I'm a little bit worried for the chip themselves. I mean, I'm not worried, but but maybe it's possible that the golden age of Nvidia is behind us because we didn't have much competition 2 years ago, but now that's different. Now there's a lot of competition, a lot of people who build different things, and maybe Nvidia will still be on top and all of that, right? But there's a lot of people who are doing different things. There's more risk. It's a more competitive
Mm.
market to be Nvidia. But for TSMC, like I mean, they just build the stuff, right? So they can work with
Right.
everybody.
They don't care.
Exactly, they don't care, right? Like it's not the guy who dig the gold, it's not the guy who sell the shovel, it's the guy who build the shovel, right?
Exactly.
And who work with all the seller, right? Like so, if you want to make money selling the shovels, you get to build your shovel first. And so the more people want to sell shovels, the more they have to build. That's it, right? At the end of the day, that's exactly the story. And this is the best position to be in by far, by far, by far.
Right. And let's remember here that um, it's hard to replicate TSMC's business because building a foundry that can build such sophisticated
Mhm,
chips,
mhm,
like
mhm,
the 2 nanometer process that they have is just so hard to copy.
mhm, mhm.
Um, but we know that other companies are coming in on the chip design side. Cerebrus is one of them.
Yes.
There are a couple of other ones whose names I don't remember off the top of my head, but plenty of companies are. And why are they doing this? Well, because NVIDIA's margins are their opportunity.
I was about to say the same thing. TSMC margins are going to be the opportunity for somebody else. If you have 60+% margin, imagine like you have a lot of room to position yourself below that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if you have such a big moat on the production itself, if it's so hard to replicate, I mean they are in a golden position. Huh?
But also think about it, Martin. So designing a chip is not nearly as expensive as building it, and building the foundry you see costs billions of dollars.
Mhm,
So you can't like build a foundry on spec.
mhm, mhm.
You know what on spec means?
Yes.
I mean, you can't speculate because there are plenty of people in the United States that, like in the 80s and 90s, used to build houses on spec. They'd go buy land. They're like, population's increasing in this area. I'm going to build 10 houses. To build the house cost me 200 grand. The average housing price in this region is 500 grand. I'm going to speculate that I can make 300 grand on each one of these houses. And as long as people are buying the houses up as fast as that guy can make it, and interest rates are at the right level, then that's a great business to be in the speculation business. But it costs billions of dollars to build a fab, and just the technical necessity to understand like how to actually properly build a fab and do like a 2 nanometer Remember, we talked about this on ATP today. That Shanghai-based company, right, Dongfeng,
Mhm,
is doing a 14 nanometer process.
mhm, mhm. 14, 1
So why
4.
are they doing that? Because they don't know how to do the 2 nanometer or what's standard now, which is the 3 nanometer process, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So you can compete with them, but like, how could you possibly compete with that?
I mean, if this is true, if this is really something that nobody else can do, it's insane. Like really, it's like yeah, I can't think about any other example of like something that no one else is able to build. But if this is really the case, because like think about it, like everything we said, for example, about Shopify, who is in a bad situation because they didn't build their own data centers. We could say the same thing for Nvidia. Why they don't build their own fab? For them, $100 billion when you're a $3.5 trillion company is nothing, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like it's absolutely nothing. So why they don't make this type of investment? Why they don't build their own fab? Why they didn't just do their own thing and stop paying TSMC? And maybe the answer is because it's hard. They can't do it,
Yeah.
right? And if this is the case, this is absolutely insane to me. Like if really, if
Mm.
Nvidia, if Apple, if all of these guys, they just can do it, even though they are the largest company in the world, because it's hard and they just can't copy it and they can't duplicate and they can't invest enough money to make it work, and all the business stay into TSMC. I don't know. It's absolutely insane to me. This
It is insane.
I don't think it's seen somewhere else. Do you have any other example where the answer is as simple as it's hard and they just can't build it? Right? Like there's not a lot of other example like computer, phone, internet, everything. Like
No.
there's always somebody who find out a way to do it, right? They- so
Yeah.
cars.
But replacing what TSMC does is
Mhm,
hard. It's really, really hard. Yeah. So like Hyundai was a company, that wasn't making cars until they started making cars. They
mhm.
licensed technology from Japan, and now they're like one of the biggest car makers in the world. But you can't do that in the chip foundry business because it's just so technically hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
you can't just like wake up one day and build like a 2 nanometer process. You probably have to go through the process of going from 14 to 12 to 10, you know what I
Mhm,
mean, to
mhm,
7
mhm.
to 3 to 2 to understand like just how nuanced this thing is.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Let us know in the chat if you think about one example of another industry, like anywhere in the world, any industry, where one company doesn't have much competition just because it's hard. That's it. Like, that's the only reason, just because nobody else is able to do it. I can't think about anything. So, yeah, if you have an example to tell us, please let us know.
I think it's undercover media. It's just hard to replicate, man.
It is really hard what to do. Actually, you're right, Michael. We are in the same position as TSMC. Yep, that's
We
what it
are.
is. It's really hard to do ATP. It's really hard to do AGTP. No, it's really hard. I agree. Really, really
It's
hard.
really hard. Okay. Do you have anything else on this, Martin?
No, I think that's it. I think that's it.
Pretty good today.
This is really interesting. I really wonder like why Nvidia doesn't build their own fab. I think this is the biggest question for me. I want to
It's
ask.
just too expensive and it's too risky. Why would you build it would be like McDonald's having their own
That's what example
cows.
stage. Yeah, cows and then making their own stage. Yeah, that's not what they do. They work with
Just not what they do,
suppliers.
right? They design burgers and then they buy them from somebody else. Yeah. And they do the same thing on the French fries, by the way,
Yes.
which they buy from one supplier,
Worldwide.
McDonald's. So at least in the United States, they buy from one supplier,
Oh
maybe
wow.
worldwide.
Imagine the number of potatoes this supplier needs to either grow or buy. Must be insane, huh? To supply McDonald's. It must be insane. But yeah, I really wonder like what's going on like on the more business side with TSMC. Like because okay, it's going up. How much more up it can go? Like this is not investment advice, of course, but I mean if we compare to Nvidia, for example, Nvidia year to date I mean almost 10%. That's great. 1 year 20%. That's great as well. 5 years, okay, 5 years 1000%. Okay, so they had their massive growth on the 5 year chart, but on the 1 year and year to date, like TSMC is 5 times more growth than Nvidia.
Yeah, so TSMC on a 1 year basis is up over 118%.
Yes. Yeah. They are like 5 times more growth on the 1 year chart.
What are we doing?
Exactly. So that's what like what are we doing and where are we going? Because
Right.
if it's really the answer, like it's just hard, people can do it, and companies like Nvidia, who are worth 5 trillion right now, can't,
$5 trillion.
yeah, just
God.
can't build it because they just can't, like they can't like invest even 1 trillion, to just like build it and say, okay, we're just gonna do it, and if they can't do it because it's hard. I
Mm.
mean, what does it say about TSMC business? It's doing a 10x, not 20x, it's a 100x in 10 years because,
The other thing about TSMC's business is it's not tied specifically just to the AI chips. Like they
yes,
make all kinds of chips.
yes.
They don't just make GPUs. They don't just make CPUs. They make ARM style chips. They make all. They just give me the design. We'll figure out how to manufacture it, and we'll manufacture it at scale with very few flaws. Do you know what I mean? Because the what's the word? Oh, come on, Michael. I can't remember the word, but the yield has to be high,
Yeah,
right?
because like in every production of chips, there's always like, I don't know, 1 or 2%,
Ones
for
that don't
example,
work.
like a certain percentage that doesn't work, and
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is what they are against, right? Like they don't want this percentage to be too high, right?
No, because that cuts into their margins, and they
Exactly.
can't ship them to anybody because nobody can. Well, they can. Some of them can be used. Like Apple does use some chips that aren't perfect. But that's a story for another day. By the way, SpaceX, where's it trading now, Martin?
We need the teacher. Where is the script? Where is
Where's the script? I thought
the
uh, I
script,
thought
Jan?
Jan was going to write that script for us.
Did Jan build the script during the live? Did you build the script? So we are 135.7 now, apparently, according to
It's
Google.
130. It's 133.34, at least according
Oh,
to what I'm looking at. It's
133,
down
right?
1.5% today.
133. Yeah, I mean, now we're getting into the very dangerous zone, right?
But again, the reason why I bring this up is not because I care what the price of SpaceX stock is. I don't own any stock, and I'm not making investment advice. It's just like, what is the impact on the price of not TSMC, of SPCX, in the context of the potential IPO, which I think is just gone. The window on that is closed for Anthropic and for OpenAI. And I also think that another dagger in the heart of both of those companies is the release of the open weight model from Thinking Machines Labs.
You know what would seal the deal for the IPO? What would like say, okay, for sure the IPO doesn't happen.
What's that?
One very large tech company saying that they use thinking machine labs product, and they say this is the best. If something like this happen, think about Uber, for example, or think about an insurance company. Somebody will say, yes, this is the solution for us. We've deployed thinking machine into our system, and this has been massive increase of that. They have fixed all of our problems. It was super, super good.
Right. And it's good enough for us. If they come out and
And
just say,
yeah,
like, we use this model, we
exactly.
use Tinker to fine tune it,
To
and the
fine
model
tune it, yeah.
itself that they have is good enough for us.
Just one big client will say this, and then everybody will be like, oh, if it works for them, maybe it will work for me as well. And OpenAI and
Mm.
Anthropic do not have any solution to this, right? Like think about like how they had to react super fast to the agentic AI, right? Like after
Yeah, yeah.
OpenClaw emerged, right? Like they all had to launch Cloud Code and Codex and all of these things super fast, right? To be
Mhm.
able to participate in this agentic era. But I don't think they can launch Tinker in like 3 weeks, huh? Like the same way
No,
we did for Cloud Code. Huh? We are like here, it's a different time frame. And OpenAI said that they stop actually doing fine tuning. So we just need one company that says, yes, this is the future for us. This is amazing for us. And then everybody gonna put their eyes on this type of solution. And then for and OpenAI can't participate in this. And I think this is just sealing the deal. No IPO. Everybody told about the next thing. And that's a disaster. I mean, for them and for us as well as clients, we got to be ready for this. I
mm-mm.
think we need to be ready. I think at the end of the day, that's why like we would like to talk about Anthropic and OpenAI because we use them and our business is heavily using them. And so we got to be ready. We got to think about okay, if something bad happened to Anthropic or OpenAI, how do we sustain the same level of output that AI is doing currently for us, right? And so we need to
Exactly.
know, we need to have a contingency plan. We need to already look at what's going on, what is happening. We don't need to implement anything right now, but it's like, let's say you eat your food twice a day to the same restaurant every day, but you know this restaurant is losing money and a
Right.
lot of money.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how confident are you that this restaurant can still feed you in 3 months, in
Yeah,
6 months,
exactly.
in 2 years, right?
The contingency plan. Like, if you don't have a contingency plan, it's on you.
Exactly. Exactly, right? And so if you know that your restaurant, your favorite restaurant that you where you go eat 2 or 3 times a day, they are the only provider for you, you know they lose money. Now you start to be worried. Now you start to say, okay, what if, right? Like what if they go out of business? What if they go bankrupt? What if their food is not good anymore because they can't pay for it? What if they can't hire the best chef? Like
Yeah.
there's plenty of
What
problems
if
that
their
you can think
suppliers
of.
won't sell them their ingredients anymore?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
What if the bank doesn't want to loan them the money to invest into this new room that they want to build to be as big as the restaurant next door, right? Like, what
exactly.
if all of these things start to happen, right? And then you're like, okay, maybe because I still need to eat, I can't stop eating. So, so then maybe I need to find another plan. Maybe I need to learn how to cook or find another restaurant or whatever else solution you can think of. And I think we are in this type of situation right now. Like our main provider of AI that we love every day is not in a good situation. So I don't say that we stop going to the restaurant. I just say we need to think about what happens if it gets really, really bad and how
Exactly.
our business is going to be impacted so that we can be ready and we can avoid too much disruption and avoid being reactive. That's the most important, I think.
Oh my God, it's turning into a nightmare. Okay, Martin,
I
that
think we
is
do
it
it.
today for AGTP.
Yes.
Unless the gallery has questions for us.
Nope, I don't see any questions so far. Thank you very much, by the way, everyone, for staying with us tonight so long.
Yeah,
Super
exactly.
good. Super good. I hope that these topics were interesting for you and that you learned a thing or two.
Thank you, boys. Give us a thumbs up for everybody who's watching this afterwards on today's video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. As we always say, follow us on our socials on X, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. Follow me on X as well. A lot of people have started to do that. Follow Martin too. And let us know in the comments if there's anything else you want us to talk about. Martin, do you want to say anything about our upcoming schedule?
Yes, so we had something to tell you tonight. We'll say it again tomorrow, but starting next week, we are going to stop doing AGTP daily. We are going to do it twice a week, on Monday and Thursday. And we are also going to start having more guests. So the goal starting next week is to do a little bit more research t- t- topics, I would say. Like up until now, the last what, maybe 3 or 4 months, right? We've been doing that
Mhm,
together. We
mhm.
were trying to do the news of the day and to give you like the hot information, I would say. And because we do it daily and because we talk about the news of the day, it gives us a limited time to do more research about like the insights, the like more, like to basically be able to gather more information. And so we are thinking to actually try, starting next week, a different format with 2 episodes a week, and where we can talk about the most important topic of the last couple of days with more time to prep and more time to gather more information for you guys, and to have like a broader point of view, broader information, and make the show, we think, more interesting at the end of the day. So we'll do that on Monday and Thursday. We'll also start 1 hour earlier, so not at 11 a.m. Eastern time anymore, at 10 a.m. is Eastern time, because we want to have more guests. Like we want to have more guests joining us, more CEOs, more CTOs from the US who can explain to us what they do with AI, what they build,
And
because
why?
it's and why, and also like what they see in the markets. And we want to have 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe more guests per day on each show. And so that's why, because we didn't want to either do a 5 hour long show, or we didn't also want to cut completely the news, because we think it's really interesting and we still want to do that. That's why we say, okay, let's just extend, start an hour earlier, and then we can do all of these things in just one show, basically. So that's pretty much the idea of what we're gonna start doing next week on Monday. So we still do the normal show tomorrow night on Friday, and then Monday, and then Thursday next week.
Super duper.
Sounds good to Jan. And we hope that you will still tune in, because you guys are here every day with us. And it's really, really amazing. Like, really, it's really, really cool. And so we really hope that now you're gonna have a little bit more time for yourself as well, even though we really appreciate you coming
Love it, love it, love it.
to chat with us every day. But now we are going to see each other every Monday and every Thursday, and we really hope that that you are on the live with us. Because I think, Michael, that you agree with me, but we really love the question that everybody
Love it.
asks. Like,
Love it, love it,
you
love it.
guys are really using AI, and you really like have real insight when I compare to other lives where it's not that professional, let's say, in
No.
terms of level and of expertise. We are really, really happy to have you guys actually providing something and really bringing new point of view, new ideas, new insights, because you are also expert into using AI, and you also do that, and this is really, really interesting for us as well. So that's why we really appreciate it that you guys join us. And so the new rendezvous is going to be on Monday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time.
Awesome. Okay, Martin. Thank you for that. My name is Michael Waits. I'm going to say goodbye for now.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.